Welcome to this session where we are going to see some of the practical things about getting started with the databases. Till now, what we have seen is about all the theoretical concepts where we started with our journey to understand the basic concepts about the SQL. Then we have understood some of the RDBMS concepts, relational database constraints. We understood entity attributes, and then how we can map entities to database tables. So that we have seen. Now it's time to do some hands-on practice where we are going to get started with the database. And for this, in as a part of this course, I am going to cover Microsoft SQL Server as a database. This is a relational database, and this database can be anything else as well, like Oracle or MySQL or IBM DB2. So these all depends upon means what softwares or what tools you are using. But right now, as a part of this course, I'm going to consider Microsoft SQL Server, and this is the first step to get started with the Microsoft SQL Server. The very first thing which you can do is you can just search for, get started with the installation of the Microsoft SQL Server. For that, you can try to type Microsoft SQL Server, and you get this SQL Server downloads. So now we do have different products here. SQL Server on Azure, that is a cloud, and then we do have Edge, which is again a IoT devices, something which is Internet of Things, and this is for on premises where it is installed on the premises. So these are some of the things which are available, and but as a part of this learning, we are not going to use those. We can actually download this free edition as well as a developer edition or express edition as well, where it is you can see this is for development and production for desktop, web, and small server applications. And this is also for development and test database in a non-production environment. So these are the things which we can download. You can start from here downloading any of these as per your requirement. However, you can see some of the installation steps for different operating system as well: Windows, Linux, Docker. Then we do have some SQL Server tools and connectors. These tools are nothing but these are the tools where we actually going to write our queries. These are some of the things. You can see some of the connectors like ADO.NET or JDBC, ODBC drivers. So these all we require wherever we wanted to connect to different data sources. So right now we are going to get started with this SQL Server Management Studio, which is a tool where we can write our query. So if you try to click on this download SQL Server Management Studio, you can see some of the things which are coming as what is this, and this is something which is applies to SQL Server, Azure SQL databases, managed instance, Azure Analytics as well. And this is an integrated environment for managing any SQL infrastructure from SQL Server to Azure database. So as a part of learning SQL right from the start, this is a good starting point to get started with SQL Server, and that is what we are going to do it. So now right now this latest version is 2019, which is there. So we can get started with this free download for SQL Management Studio. This is the version we can just click on, and then it gets downloaded on our system. So this is something which is gets downloaded. We do have some other information available here in which languages which is that is available. Generally it will by default get downloaded in the English version, but this is something which is we can choose different languages as well if required. And there are some previous versions as well, and this is something which is we are doing. I have already installed it. Installation is not that difficult. Once this exe file is downloaded in your local system, you can just double click on that .exe file, and then it will just selecting the next for the installation and it just take few minutes to install it. Once the SQL Server Management Studio gets installed, you can see this is available, and I have opened it from the start menu where it is there, and then we can get this database engine which is connected, which is our laptop name, and that is something which is showing it here as well. Once we have this tool is ready, where we can actually need some databases. So this is AdventureWorks 2019 is one database which is we needed to get started, which will have some by default some tables. To get this tables available or make this available here, we need to follow some steps where this is the default. When you are installing this software, say SQL Server Management Studio, this database will by default will not be available here. To get imported in this database, first we need to follow some steps, and that we are going to see now. So basically, these links are there available in the video description, where I'm going to tell you from where we can get this AdventureWorks database imported. So this is the link where it is available on. This is a Microsoft official website where you can find out all these things. Database samples you can see. There are some other samples as well, and you can get some GitHub samples as well, means if required. But that is what we do. We are not going to go into that detail. But what we can do, we can get this AdventureWorks sample database, and for this you need to have a prerequisite as SQL Server or SQL Server Management Studio or Azure database installed on our system. So we do have this, and then we just need to download one of these backup file which is available, OLTP data warehouse or lightweight. So you can see this OLTP data is for most typical online transaction processing workloads. This is for data warehousing workloads, and this is the lightweight and far down version for OLTP sample. So generally, we are not going to check these files right now. We are going to use a OLTP version. So generally, the latest one you should download this .back file, which is available here. This is the SQL Server 2019. So suppose you have installed SQL Server 2019 Management Studio, then you can download this back file which is available here. Once you click on that, and then that will be available. And then how we can restore that SQL Server database? So you can just use this back file which you just downloaded in your system. You can see these steps. This is appropriate download file, .back file we need to download, and then we need to move it to our program file whenever where we have installed our Microsoft SQL Server. So in the local C drive, we do have program files, Microsoft SQL Server. So in the backup folder, we should copy this .back file and save it. Once we have saved it, then just go to this database, which is just go to this databases option in the SQL Server Management Studio, and just click on this restore database. Once we have done this, then we just need to select that particular folder, which is this folder, which is available, and from that we can just select .back file, and then click on OK to confirm that to restore. And basically it will look like this as a screen, and then just click on OK. Once you have clicked on this OK, then this will be available in the database. So this database which is AdventureWorks 2019, this database will be available in this SQL Server Management, where we can see different tables, and we can just directly use new query feature here, and we can just start writing our practical queries. And this practical queries, what all the practical queries we need to write and how we can start, that we are going to see in the coming session, where I will be going to tell you about the different types of SQL statements, and what are the data definition language, what are the data manipulation language. So that is something which we are going to see practically along with the theoretical concepts as well. I hope you liked it, and I will see you in next session.